Ted, how you doing?
And let you guys have it.
Well, everybody seems to wonder where I come from in all of this. And as a lot of people know that I plan on running for Senate in Iowa. But I don't come from this from very little experience at all. You know, from the age of 2, I was a first-generation foster child, taking on false allegations from my parents. And it didn't stop until I was 15 years old. I was returned home. And then at the age of 15, you know, people want to know about the trafficking part of this. I wasn't trafficked while I was in the agencies, group homes, foster care, you name it. I was in it all. But I was after I went home. After I went home, I was kidnapped and basically sold into satanic child sex trafficking and held in a dungeon for 3 months. So I know this from all angles. Then when I was 16, I got pregnant, had my children, had 3 eventually. But my children were taken from me, my first 2, at the age of 18. And then I fought for 5 years. They gave me my first 2 back. And then after I had my 3rd one, then they took them all. Then they terminated my parental rights back in 2006. And since then, I'm a very rare case. Since then, my oldest, as of last year, has aged out. He is 18 now, and we are expecting the 3rd generation. He is home now. We are happy. He's going through a lot, as he is very upset with being taken from his family, you know, on false allegations, and he remembers it all. I had a very intelligent son, lucky. I was very lucky and blessed. He has an eidetic memory, so he remembers everything. Now, my children were taken from me from a deck that was stacked very methodically. This goes back from the age of 12 years old. I lived in Mesa, Arizona, and I witnessed a murder by 2 police officers. My family fled, and we went back to Iowa. Well, it didn't take long before I knew what was going on when they took my kids. My brother had a child with a cop's daughter in the town that we moved to. My father witnessed the magistrate shooting up heroin along with the county attorney. So when I talk about collusion and racketeering, I'm not playing games. I've seen it, I've lived it, I've survived it. And so have my children. Now, my 2nd oldest child is 17. I have spoken to all of my children. I am an alienation case because people think that alienation only exists within custodial division. No, it don't. My oldest is aged out, but I am still alienated from the other 2. However, my 2nd oldest child is 17 now, soon to come home. He was born with bilateral club foot, which is when your feet are really curved when you're born. And my son didn't have a curved bone in his body from the time he was born until he was 5 years old. And now I have learned from talking to him that his bones in his feet are now curved. His hips are out of place and having serious issues, and now he has ruptured discs in his back. But they thought that they knew what was in the best interest of my children. But he didn't have a curved bone in his body or anything like that up until the age of 5. So the night that ended in my TPR, the termination of parental rights, and this is where my son is really enraged. I witnessed the murder. The officer that followed us back from Mesa ended up becoming a county sheriff deputy in the county that I lived in. The magistrate and the county attorney were on heroin. The local police department, it was a conflict of interest directly because of a custodial battle between my brother and the police department with a cop's daughter. Conflict of interest. So, with the DAC stacked, false allegations, immediate removal because I knew my rights. I said I have proper consultation with my attorney at least prior to walking into this courtroom, and they literally held me down and pried my children from my arms. No court hearing, no nothing. It was all continued. Then let's see. The night that ended in the TPR, there was a domestic situation between me and my youngest child's dad, and yeah, I defended myself at first, but then I did beat the holy hell out of him, and I'll take that charge. And I was willing to take that charge, but what I wasn't willing to take was what they added on it. The cops came to my door trying to bust down my door, and I said, "You need a warrant to enter my premises." And I stood my ground. They didn't care. Anyway, my two oldest children, I was getting them ready because I was going to be leaving their father at that moment. The cops came through my door, tased me, handcuffed me, beat me, tossed me in the car. I did not know that I was being charged with child endangerment until the next day. The next day I was being arraigned by the judge, and he read me my charges: domestic assault and child endangerment. And I said, child endangerment for what? And he said, because the officers said that I held my two children behind my front door as a barricade to prevent the officers from entering my premise. Now, this was a whole entirely different county the night that ended, the events that led up to the TPR. This was a whole different county. Now, I can also prove through telephone conversations that this was a direct phone call that came from another county, the one that started with the witnessing of the murder from Claire back at the age of 12, the county that had the magistrate on drugs, the county attorney on drugs, and, the police department conflict of interest. And then people talk about the guardian ad litems. The guardian ad litem that was my children's guardian ad litem was, lo and behold, my guardian ad litem when I was a child. And my juvenile court officer for running away from home was also a staff member from the shelters and group homes and things that I had grown up in my whole life. So it was just a wealth of conflict of interest. I mean, just beyond belief. And I still have the recordings. I still have the audio cassettes. I still have all the court transcripts. I still have everything, and they know it. And I'm stacking my deck because I think that this is just wrong. And these families don't deserve this. My children didn't deserve this. I didn't deserve this. But what do we do now? Everybody asks me, what do you do now? And I get a lot of families that say, who do we call? Now, some people don't believe this, but I still believe this. You need to call 911. Get rid of these hotlines. These hotlines are disgusting. The Des Moines Register just posted out today that somebody was arrested from the Iowa hotline for fraud. So, it's disgusting. It's disgusting in all avenues and all aspects of it. And it is fraud upon the courts and collusion and, all this terminology everybody wants to throw out there. And it falls on deaf ears. Crickets. We hear crickets. They tell us that we're just this small cult of parents that are pissed off. No, we're not. No one is discriminated against. As long as you've got kids, you're a target. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. Family courts are out of control. The judiciary is out of control. The police departments are out of control. The Bar Association is out of control. Trying to pass legislation, the Bar Association keeps intervening, and I'm glad that that's being challenged in federal courts too, and success is coming out of that for lawsuits against the Bar Association for lobbying against family law reform bills. So, with all that said, I would like to go ahead and take any questions anybody might have right now, and then hand the torch on over to Jody.
What seat are you running for?
I think it's going to be Nate Bolton's. He's gubernatorial candidate in Iowa, and I think that's the seat that I've fully chosen on.
What do you suggest to parents that are going through this right now with their children?
That's a good question. What do I suggest parents do now? I'm going to be honest with you. The Facebook support groups, and I like a lot of people for how they look at this as like a stair-step program with Facebook. Because I kind of look at it like that. As everybody started out, they started out in support groups. Okay? Get your support and your awareness. With that, you'll get your education. You're going to see that you're not alone. This does not discriminate. You're not a bad parent. You're a good parent usually, and that's most likely why you're targeted, because they know you'll fight. A lot of people, you get in the support groups and you'll find a wealth of information. As everybody organizes across this country, state to state, there's go-to pages for resources, support groups, references, advocates within your community, ADA advocates, court watchers, etc., that can help assist you in your dealings with the family courts. So I suggest people to find people within their state, find your pages, find your supporters, but just know that it's a fight that you can only go forward with. And I also try to let people know that as they screw up the system, just in the back of your head, know that if the right filings are done at the lower court level, you're going to hit them hard at the higher court level when it's over with. Whether you succeed or not, as long as you are still seeing your children, hang on to that for everything you've got. I had nothing but a picture. I actually went into a restaurant one time after about 5 years after my TPR, and I saw this child that looked just like my son, and I couldn't eat. I was sick to my stomach. I was throwing up. I couldn't move. I was froze. And I knew, though, that if that was my son, he would have recognized me. So when I tell people that I understand in a kidnapping or anything like that, I think that the unknown and grieving the loss of a living being is worse than anything on this earth. I didn't know if my kids were dead or alive, same name, different name, tortured. Didn't know if I was looking at them in the grocery store. Didn't know if I was seeing them walking down the street. I couldn't be around other children. I feared being around other families because it just made me sick knowing that they could have something that I couldn't. And that was horrible of me. But that is the point at which my brain went. Within 1 year of my TPR, I developed a very rare disease called complex regional pain syndrome, which I still believe is a direct result of the trauma that I endured of the TPR. So it's just nothing but constant pain in my entire body, and I have full body CRPS, and it has reached my internal organs, so I have a lot of complications. I was bedridden and wheelchair bound for 8.5 years. I've only been walking for about 6 months now. I've gone through multiple surgeries, including 3 back surgeries, 2 foot surgeries, tumor surgeries, you name it. I've been through it all. So I went through quite a bit. So I've been out of the picture for a while, but I've always been here and trying to support families. But there's support out there. I say reach out. Reach out, because you will find somebody that knows something, and you will find people that are familiar. You're not alone. You're not alone. And I also want to touch on the suicide part. Parents, they feel like I have nothing left to lose. I have no kids. I have no home. They've hit me hard with child support. And I'm not exempt from that either. Foster care recovery unit is such a beautiful thing, thanks to Title IV funding. You're not alone in this. You may have nothing left. You may be homeless. There's groups out there. Parents Co-op is a good thing that's getting started. Thank you, Nathan Cruz, for that one. Then there's Parent to Parent with Tracy Moss, as far as if you need something, clothes, games, whatever, you may need something, and it's just donations from families, support. The Parents Co-op, what I like about that the most is if you're homeless, somebody, an advocate somewhere, can sit there and put you up within that community for at least 7 days and get you established with services within that community or something, so that you're not completely out, So I like things that are getting organized and coming together. This is really good, and it's going to take all of us. Yeah, it may fall on deaf ears right now, but things are moving. As we strip away these so-called immunities, then they're vulnerable, okay? And that's when you punch. That's when you punch, and I use that very strongly. We're gonna punch this system. It's coming one at a time, and it's gonna fall. But when it falls, it's gonna be very dramatic, and it's gonna be very scary.
Thank you very much. There's no comments or no questions on my end. Just thank you for your courage. That's from Shelley Davis. Mark Stutsky says, thank you so much for your courage and your information. Sorry for all the pain that you and your family has had to endure.
Thank you.
That's what we have through Facebook.
And the one thing...
that was a very...
The one thing I left out, I forgot to tell you guys, is when I was 2 years old and they took my mom. See, that was back in the 80s, where they were experimenting on, what do you call that? Like, where they fry your brain, man.
Phlebotomy.
It wasn't a phlebotomy, because that's when they cut the hole out, but they zapped my mother's brain because she showed symptoms of anger and depression from having us taken on, electric shock therapy. So they fried my mom's noodle. I mean, literally. So I remember my mother before, and I remember my mother after. So this is not something I take lightly. It changed my mother forever, and I'm a direct reminder to her when I see her as what happened. And you, as parents, will experience that as well, as you will be triggered with society. You'll see another mother that's going through a case, or another father that's going through a case, or you'll see a kid wearing a t-shirt in a park that reminds you of a memory of your child, and then you just shut down. I just want you to remember that that's what you need to shout. People want to shut up. No, don't shut up, please. Please share your stories. I am not kidding. You are not alone, and these stories need to be up there. They need to be up there. A lot of these legislators don't understand what's going on out here. But yes, continue. Sorry about that.
Oh no, I was just going to say, instead of electroshock, now they use prescription drugs to do the same thing.
Yes, and I would like to touch... Yeah. Go ahead.
No, it's a way that they continue the legal abuse, but it doesn't sound quite as bad. People, if you're on prescription drugs, even children, because that's what happens is, the children have separation anxiety, and they pump them full of drugs, so they don't care about it anymore. In doing that, you also create a child who is then technically disabled, and they receive more money from the reward system. It's just a horrible situation, and your story is, and you said it very, very well and thoroughly, and you didn't go off track. I thought it was very well said, and a horrible, devastating story, and a perfect example of why this needs to change immediately.
Mm-hmm.
People, this is inhuman. This type of things you went through is just inhuman, and certainly not American.
No.
I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you. And just remember, everybody, there's people out there. You're not alone. It's not worth taking your life over. I always tell everybody, don't let the government succeed. Don't let them win. Don't let them win. That is their ultimate goal. It is mass genocide. I don't care how you look at it. Don't let them win.
Yeah.
I'll hand that over to Jody.
It's not only the greatest civil rights disaster right now that we're facing, it's the greatest health disaster we've seen in modern history. More lives are affected and destroyed than we've seen since that we've ever seen in recent history. It's absolutely a tragedy, and the court system is protecting this. CPS is an empire protected by the judiciary, is how Nancy Schaefer put it.
Yeah.
It needs to end.
And
immediately.
what I'm doing is I'm calling this Kids for Cash Iowa, just like Nancy Schaefer, because I will not look at it any other way. We all agree simultaneously the money is the problem. Hey, the money's not going where it's supposed to. It's paying off people. And earlier you was talking about the forced medication. A lot of what people aren't understanding also with this psychotropic drugs, ADHD medications type things, and I was forcefully medicated when I was fostered as well. Actually, I was forcefully medicated on birth control, even though I was in a girls' group home with only girls' staff. But I was forcefully medicated myself, and it caused health problems, even at 13 years old or 14 years old. So, caused excessive weight gain and migraines, and I was really tired, couldn't really function in school. So I'm going to move a little forward onto the psychotropic drugs. What a lot of people don't understand is that these psychotropic drugs are just like the Happy Blue pill from Pfizer. It's a sexual stimulant, and it is exactly creating child sex predators. These children do not understand why they have the feelings at such an early age that they do. It increases puberty to be happening at such a younger age. And now we have child sex predators. Now, I also want to remind people that when these children are sexually molesting others, that in turn is a sexual injury within themselves for something they do not understand that is chemically driven and altered. And so when the medications are being forced on these children, it's higher in males than it is in females. But they end up start molesting others or being sexually curious, and I want to touch a little bit on the educational system. Something that just came out recently that just disgusted me was that they want to teach proper sodomy in our sex education in school now. How to have anal sexual intercourse as a child. I'm sickened by these things. What society is doing. It's demoralizing. It's disgusting on all levels. All levels. It's out of control. It's out of control.
So we have a few other comments. I can go through those. They made a killing on Stefan Rivenberg Jr. before they killed him.
And
he was disabled. That was
one,
Lisa.
That one breaks my heart. That breaks.
Yeah, you can, a baby who is responsive, yet they say is unresponsive, and refuse to put him on life support until they can find a new heart, that the doctors, whoops, we left him open too long, and now he has scar tissue on his heart. And so instead of taking the time to keep this baby alive, they simply euthanized him, saying he wasn't responsive, when there is video that I played on Million Prayer March Live and other people have shared of him responding to touch, to light, to sound, and not just eye movements, but moving his legs, moving his arms while he's got this big gaping chest wound. It is really, really hard to watch, knowing that he is gone now.
And knowing that a judge can sign that death warrant. That death certificate just is disgusting.
Judge Wayne Shelton, I believe was his name. He belongs in prison for the rest of his life.
I agree.
Mark Stusky says, I've lost 2 granddaughters to DCS. No allegations, no nothing. Shelley Davis says, I've lost 5 grandkids because of CPS forced adoptions. Sarah Kate Carley says, I've lost my whole family. Yeah, Shelley says I had no idea about psychotropic drugs. Yeah, that's something I know Raymond Schwab talks a lot about, because they forced, or trying to force, drugs on his 5 children. And that's the first thing they'll do, because obviously there's separation anxiety. So they pump them full of psychotropic drugs, and if they act out a little bit, they put them on other drugs that will impair them, that will make them disabled, and then they get a higher reward for taking care of a disabled child. So they're actually rewarded for taking a perfectly normal child and making a disabled child out of them. And it's happening repeatedly.
Yeah. And I'm so sorry to the one who said she lost her whole family. I feel you. I feel you. I totally understand. But I just want her to know that she's not alone. She's not alone, because that is their direct purpose, is to isolate you first. You're guilty by association now. It doesn't matter if you live in an apartment complex and your neighbor down the hall is doing drugs. You're guilty for living there. And this guilty by association and these CPS psychics, now we've got psychics, everything's foreseeable and imminent danger now. So, it's far overreaching. And then, like in my case personally, I had all the evidence to back my stuff up. I had it. They refused to allow it in courts. I filed my appeals. I was denied my appeals. I was up against a wall, and once I realized that wall, all my money was gone, just gone. In 5 years, it left me homeless and basically brain dead, and a vegetable, It's just gone too far. And now, okay, when you're looking at like the CPS level of it, because a lot of custodial divisions, people don't realize, lead to CPS involvement. So people always say, I don't want to hear CPS stuff. Well, you're going to hear it soon enough. The false allegations and withholding of evidence is just at a disgusting level. We all have the evidence. That's why we fight. But they know you're going to fight. They know you're going to fight. If you are in the right, they know you're going to fight. Their whole mission is to isolate you from all your guilty associates. Say that this person's a bad influence for you or your children. If you do this, we'll give you your kids back. But the minute that you do this, they file a TPR. So when parents ask me, I'm scared to do this, don't be scared. Don't be scared. Their mission and mind is already made up. Live your life. Live your life, enjoy what you've got, and fight. Don't shut up. That's what they want you to do.
That's right.
Do not shut up. That is the best advice I can give you in the world. Scream it to the hills. Write the Des Moines Register. Write, whoever, your local newspaper. Write the New York Times. I don't care. Write whoever. Write it. Don't shut up. That's what they want you to do. Don't fear it. Re-engage back into society, because it is okay. You are just human. You are just human. And that is the God's honest truth. You are human.
Absolutely, yeah. You got it.
I'm going to go ahead and bow out and hand over to Jody. And if you guys need me back in a few minutes, I'll be happy to come back.
Absolutely, yeah. Take all the time you want.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ted.